Hello YouTube, Ronan Kazi. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. God, I'm gonna have to stop early. All right. Ronan Kazi here with some more Tumbleweed gameplay. So running it off my older, it's a 10-year-old laptop. I think I said 15 years in the last video. It's about a 10-year-old laptop. It's an Asus VT502 Best Buy edition. For those of you who are not in America, Best Buy is an electronic chain store that sells similar to the branded. So the Asus VT502 is different than the one at Best Buy. The one at Best Buy is a little less specs, so it's a little more price friendly, and that's the one I bought. The version I have, I've upgraded it to 24 gigabytes. I think it came with 12. And surprisingly, it only has 3 megabytes of RAM memory. Or gigabytes, I'm not sure. We'll see. I put this stuff up there. I've been having a senior moment with thinking about megabytes and gigabytes. Anyways, YouTube. Here we go. So, number one, this is called Night Ops. I ran this. This is in Fallout 76, which I've been running lately. It was dark out, so I had to do a lot of video effects to make it a little bit brighter, because you could see otherwise it was just like looking at mud the whole time. Let me get rid of that. That's shadowing up there on my prop headphones. Only use these headphones if I'm in a game and I'm going to talk to people. I had a couple problems with the game not going full screen, and so in the beginning it's a little bit. I just got this set up last night. Also, to give you kind of some updated news, I was so happy with the Tumbleweed on this VT502 Asus laptop. I decided that I would do that on my Dell Alienware 13-inch laptop, and I'd put maybe I was going to put Rhino Linux on it. Rhino Linux is a rolling release from Ubuntu, and I was pretty excited about doing that. That just failed nonstop. I don't know why it failed, but it failed. Then I tried to put Void Linux on, and Void Linux comes on in XFCE, and I don't know that I couldn't really get that, and it wants me to manually partition. No, so I didn't do that. So the next thing I've downloaded was Solus, S-O-L-U-S Linux, which is kind of another rolling release, and it's an independent level 1. All right, we're in Fallout 76. So what I've done, you can see that the Steam in-game overlay with the stats of the computer, I put a version of that a lot bigger so you could see it. And you can see in the game, maybe when I'm in battling with other, where there's more objects in there. Also, right there, tells you what kind of video card I have. I'm going to say it's 3 gigabytes. It's a 970L or 970M. An interesting thing, the processor in my mini PC is a 760M, but it's an APU. I've given it 16 gigabytes. And you can see the game kind of on the GPU, it goes like 2 gigs. Normally it's up there at 2 gigs. It won't go past the 3 gig barrier. 2.7 it's at right now, and you can see this game's not a heavy RAM usage game. And the frame rate's okay. Right, again, I'm not a multiplayer game where I'm worrying about killing other people. 40 frames or above is, I think, okay. I'm on Linux on a Windows game on an older PC. I was pretty surprised, so I don't know. Okay, so here's where we're going to reach the limits of my knowledge. I have an APU, GPU on a relatively recent processor versus a dedicated, 10-year-old. So that's kind of what we're looking at. I think both the games are on low and medium throughout a bunch of different things. When I'm playing it, I just want to succeed. I don't want to have the best looking game and then I'm laggy or jittery. This is Athens, Ohio. So this is part of the game. I recently started this quest series where I'm over in this area where I got hijacked. I heard a signal, I followed it. Then I had to basically win a King of the Hill battle, eventually squaring off against a Deathclaw. Now I'm sent back out. I got to prove myself in this area. So I'm in Athens, Ohio in the game. And those little suitcases I can drop off for a little bit of XP. One of the things that I don't know about Fallout 76 is I boosted this character to level 50, and now above level 50 you keep gaining levels, but you know, I see some people are like level 1100 or whatever, so that means they've grinded a bunch. And really in the Division was the same thing. There's people that are like, there's a couple people that were really high. I'm not at 10,000 yet. I'm probably in the top 25% play the game. I have no desire to grind out a game. You can see for a while, all you were getting Ashes of Creation. And what I did in Fallout 76 is I built a house, and then I need materials for the house. And there's going to be a certain point where I probably do enough, right? Why do you play so many different games, Ron? Because I eventually get burnt out of doing the same things and the progression slows or whatever. Right now I'm having fun. But one of the things that's happened in this game is that my armor got, and then you got to get materials to do it, and I don't have the materials, and I got to go, right? So it ends up getting too tedious, and I'm like, let me do something else. Because I was hot on Lords of the Ring for a while, and I got to an area where I can't figure out the quest, and I'm kind of stuck. It won't give me more quests, but I can't figure out how to do the one quest. And then so I just stopped playing it because it's less like, why am I jerking around with this? But what's the point of today's Night Ops video? Well, really the point is this. Now, there's a lot of doom and gloom that there's going to be not enough PCs. And I read an article the other day where shops are telling people, don't throw away your old gaming PC, give it to us, and then why would I get rid of it? Like, I have a pretty decent gaming PC. Why would I get rid of it? It's sitting right over there, YouTube. Why wouldn't I just fire that back up? And the idea is this is a 10-year-old laptop. It can play Fallout 76. I'm sure it's going to be able to play these other games. When I figure out the hard drive, I will boost this back up. But with Linux, and I'm going to tie a bunch of things together. How are we doing on time? We're about halfway through. I'm going to tie a bunch of things together. I mentioned a couple times, that's Roxy doing whatever Roxy's doing behind me. I gave you a couple videos. One video was how Linux compared to Windows. And I told you, and I even put that YouTuber stuff in the description so you could figure that out. Then recently I saw another kind of benchmark video thing of YouTube, of video games in Linux versus Windows with older hardware. And one of the problems with the older hardware, the newer editions of Linux would get rid of the drivers that would support the older hardware for the video graphics and NVIDIA graphics. So this is something to consider. You might have to load some older drivers then to get the most performance out of those older systems. But nonetheless, you could pick up a used laptop, right? You're not going to run into the DDR5 problems with competing. Hey, what's that? Scorpion. Competing for the resources that data mining places are having, or AI centers are going to have. But how much RAM do you need on these older systems? I think if you have a dedicated, and really on an older PC, I wouldn't, integrated graphics were really horrible. So that's why both my laptops have their own processors for graphics. Even though one's like a 1060 and this is a 970, they're better than the integrated graphics of an older PC, older laptop. So what you're looking for is a laptop, maybe that you can upgrade it to at least 16 gig of RAM, and then it has its own dedicated, not integrated graphics cards. Forgetting the word right now. I said it yesterday, but now I'm old and a cadre can't remember it. But you can play. So is Linux any better than Windows? Not necessarily for improving the speed of the game. And we're talking about gaming now. We're not talking about getting a light Linux distro on an even older PC and you're just surfing and doing that stuff. Linux by far is a better system than Windows for that. But we're talking about playing games. What's better than about Linux? Well, it's supported and it's updated and has security updates. So you're not at risk. So you can go back playing games and not worried about, if you have a glitch, did I get hacked? Just one more benefit of switching to Linux. And by the time you do that, you're going to know how to do everything so you can, when you got to find those video drivers or whatever, it's going to be easy. The other thing I want to tell you is, I told you my process is I use LumaFusion on my iPad, and I do everything on that. The rendering time on a M chip is just superior to anything. And if you think about the cost for a editing rig versus, the Mac stuff Apple stuff's great. Why didn't I get a Mac? I do have a Mac to do that. I prefer the touch interface for doing these 15-minute videos. LumaFusion is good enough, but what I've also decided to do is try to, there's Kdenlive Live and there's like an Open Show or something like that. It's another editing software. I'm going to try to learn those and switch over and tell you what my experience is on those. Right now, the LumaFusion is so easy on an iPad. But it would be easier if I played the game on Linux and then I just did everything on Linux. Part of the thing with the pad is that it's just easier to use a pen to do the artwork and those kind of things. And I don't know if you like my thumbnails or not, or you hate them. But I spend probably more time than I should jerking around with those. And I put very inconsequential changes to just spruce them up a little bit. This is a bad thing about Fallout 76. Sometimes, because the range of the vision, like if I'm shooting something that far away, it won't hit anything because maybe it's not registering. But sometimes there might be something in the way and I can't see that far. At a certain point, I'll go over my build. When I bought the pre-character, they gave me all kinds of decent gear and everything and gave me a build, and I've since changed that build, so it's quite a bit better. The other thing about RPG games, which I've told you, this is one of the other parts about playing them that I think is superior, because you get this thing where there's another puzzle. It's not just playing the game, it's also how I've built my character to take advantage of the game. And in Fallout, there's a couple of mechanics that always happen. You might have seen it. You can see in my lower right, my food is about half and my water is about a third or a quarter. And so it's a survival game, but because the game's set in post-apocalyptic nuclear fallout, thus the word fallout, it's radioactive. And so there's some builds that the more radioactive you have, the more stronger you are. So there's a lot of different mechanics in the gameplay. And it's not that it's unique that it's yes, it's unique that it's radiation, but there's a lot of games that have that mechanic. If you're a vampire, if you're a werewolf, if you have this, you get... I'm overloaded right now. I'm going to try to make this jump. This is pathetic, YouTube. Wait for it. 5. I'm going to kill that blowfly, but 5, 4, 3, 2. Oh. Sorry, YouTube. I was like, oh, I probably should go sell. Can't fast travel when you're overloaded, so I'm going to try to go to a place and offload some of my stuff. I forgot. I should have done that in the middle. So as the other mechanic, you're always scavenging, and then you've got to scrap the stuff. And so there's a lot of things going on. Eventually that gets tedious. I keep trying to go to new areas. When I normally jump back into the game, I go to that airport because it's very familiar to me. I know the circuit that I need to run, but that gets boring after a while. And I will say this, going over to this new area, I got better weapons. This weapon I got was a combat rifle, and then I could upgrade it to an automatic combat rifle, and it's been pretty much aces. Normally, I was like sniping with a pipe gun, which was a one-shot 308, which was devastating when I was hitting. But when I get, 4 or 5 mobs, I can't reload fast enough. So I'm counting on heavier armor. And again, another puzzle. So again, this video today was about, you could see the performance for yourself the whole time. It's a good idea. You could get an older computer. If you have an older computer work, I got to go early because Ronan Kazi out because I screwed up the beginning. Bye.